folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Yes, another driving video. Maybe it'll help wake you up, you know. Maybe the rattles and the noise and the gravel and all that will wake you up. Beautiful day again. I think today it should be pretty nice out, and then we're going to start going back into the hot temperatures. I want to shift gears a little today. We've been talking a lot about war and the collapse and all these things that are happening. And they're bad, and they're just every day progressively getting worse. But there's other things that we also need to be talking about when it comes to how we're going to survive all of this. And this is a topic that I haven't discussed in quite a while, I believe. And that's just learning to get along. And I know that sounds silly. You know, it sounds like it's probably not the most important thing for us to be working towards so that we can survive all of this. But I'm telling you, folks, if people can't learn to get along, can't learn to work out their differences, can't learn to communicate, it's going to be really bad. And we live in a society that's probably, at least based on what we can see historically, maybe the worst at being able to communicate and get along. No one can. Everyone is offended for some reason. And it's not just that they're offended, it's that it's more common nowadays to you know, use violence because of you're offended, you know, to resort to that. This is the world that we live in, and it's out of control, okay? I mean, it's going along as planned, as it's all falling into place. I get that, but my goodness, people are just flat out crazy. And I'm not just talking about the pink-haired liberals. It's been a while since I've met people that can really understand communication and understand getting along. It actually seems to be more rare nowadays than you think. And that is going to be so vitally important when everything falls apart. And, you know, I know that a lot of you just consider yourselves kind of a lone wolf. You're just going to lone wolf it. You have no community, no tribe, no mag, and you're just going to get out there into this old world, and when it falls apart and it's chaos and it's destruction and death everywhere, you're going to be all right because you're on your own. And that may be, you know, that may be true. I'm not saying you're not going to survive. You may be able to figure it out. But just because you're a lone wolf does not mean you will not have contact with other people. And with what we are going through and will go through, being able to get along and to work out differences and to come to some kind of peaceful agreement, it's going to be really important. And it's something that I think that we should all be working on. We should already be working on that in our lives for other reasons. I mean, look at marriage rates, divorce rates. Look at how many children, you know, they leave the home. They not just leave the home, but they separate themselves from the parents. It's almost like a divorce of the family. Families just, you know, as they grow up, they're not close. It used to be that communities in America, they were all related. They were all family. And families stuck together, and then they didn't really move off too far. And if they did, it was because they were going to start a new family, a new community, and it grew up around that. Nowadays, there's almost no connections anymore. There's no importance put on having family and community and having that bond within that. And this is going to make things really rough for a lot of people. And we have to be consciously aware of the fact that even ourselves and the people around us, it's almost like we've lost that ability to really get along. And it's something, it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, it kind of goes away. And we've got to be working on that. That's why I've pushed so hard for so many years on having community. Because number one, it trains you how to get along with people. You know, I talk about what we're doing here locally. I don't give too many details, but I talk about it enough that you probably have an idea. And if you think that there's a group of us, you know, we have 150, 200 people a month coming to our meetings, which is this Sunday. I'm gonna throw that. It's this Sunday. So if you want to come to our monthly meeting, it's open to the public. Very fun educational event. It's this Sunday. If you want details, you can send me an email. But if you think that we have that many people in this region, and then right here around me, you know, there's a few dozen people, you think we all just get along all the time. It's just one big kumbaya, right? Right? You know, we just, every night we light the bonfire and we all stand around and holding hands and singing songs, and everybody gets along, and there's never a cross word, and there's never any hurt feelings, there's never any disagreements. I can tell you that's not even close to being the truth. You know, there's no knockdown, drag out fights, but there's certainly disagreements, and there's certainly times that, you know, people's feelings are hurt, and we have to work through them. And as much as we don't like it when those things happen in life, for our purposes, as a community of people trying to survive all of this, I actually think it's very good that we go through it. And I don't stress, I don't worry about it. You know, if I find out that a couple of people, you know, something was said and hurt someone's feelings, they didn't get along, they got a little argument, I actually think that that's good, because it's good that we go through that and then we figure out how to fix it. Because when everything falls apart, more so than it already is, there's a few things that's going to happen. Number one, you're not going to be able to trust pretty much anyone. If you don't have an existing, established trust relationship with a person or a group of people, the odds of you developing that after things start to get really bad are going to be slim. And on top of that, once things really fall apart bad, you've put so much work into building that community, and your plan to survive is based on that it's not like you can just say, okay, well, I'll just pack up and go somewhere else, because that may not be possible. At that point, your life really is dependent upon being part of that community. You put all your eggs in that basket, and I know some of you say, see, that's your mistake. Maybe that's not the mistake. Maybe that we're supposed to figure it out. Do you think that, going back in the Bible times, do you think them Israelites, when they came out of Egypt and they walked all across that desert for 40 years, do you think they got along all the time? I can tell you for an absolute fact that they did not get along, and I know that because if you read in Scripture, it talks about how Moses was so stressed out because all of these problems in the camp, and he was the only one trying to figure them out. And finally, his father-in-law came to him and said, listen, this is ridiculous. You need to set up leadership positions and judges and people that can mediate and figure out these problems so that they're not all coming to you. So right there tells me that they had issues. And we just do. That's just how people are. But we have to learn how to communicate. We have to learn how to see others, how they view things. You know, walk a mile in their shoes kind of thing. We have to learn how to peacefully communicate so that we're not saying things that are just hurting feelings all the time. But then on the other hand, we have to not let our feelings rule our lives. I read an article a while back, and it's been long enough that I don't remember the details of the article, but I remember the overall. It was talking about how in our modern times, that people are far more emotional than in known recorded history. You go back to our grandfathers and great-grandfathers, the people that are the oldest that are still alive, and they didn't grow up in a society where everyone was extremely emotional and offended and, you know, walked around with their feelings on their sleeves and stuff. And if you go throughout history, of what we can find in history, there's no records of that. Only in these modern times, and, you know, I could go into a whole video of why that is, you know, all the psychological manipulation and conditioning and chemicals and all that kind of stuff. But The point is that we live in a society vastly more emotional than ever before, and that's going to play a big role when things fall apart. And we have to recognize that and work to overcome that. Now, I'm not saying emotions are bad, not at all, that we should have no feelings and no emotions, but we should have control over them, because emotions can get out of control and they can lead to bad actions and bad thoughts and things like that. And again, going through hardship collapse, where your life is on the edge sometimes, or the possibility that you're just stressed. Everything is heightened. You don't need to have your emotions unchecked and just running around. And so that's a big problem that we have with people today, is that's where they're at. They have no control over their thoughts, over their emotions, and they have no control over their mouth. And we as prepared-minded people that are trying to survive through all this, we have to learn how to get along. We have to learn to not be so offended, get our feelings hurt all the time, and immediately have this thought of, I hate this person, or I'm going to use violence against them, or I'm not going to be their friend anymore, or I'm just going to walk away from this whole thing. We have to work through our problems. It hurts sometimes. It's uncomfortable. We don't like it. But that's how we're meant to be, and that's how community is. That's how we come together and we survive, how we make it through tough times. We don't make it through tough times by constantly being offended and walking away from every relationship just because it got tough. That doesn't make you tougher, folks. And that's the world we live in. And then there's also a huge dose of just absolute craziness. I mean, people are they're mentally insane. I mean, there's no other nice way to put it. And so we have to deal with all this through all of this collapse. And so I believe this is a very important subject. If you, excuse me, I've got a tickle in my throat. If you are working with some kind of mag, tribe, community, whatever it is, just a group of people, you and your neighbors, and you're planning to survive and ride this out together, you need to be working on your communication. You need to be openly talking about how you're going to resolve issues that come up in your group. When you don't get along, when someone says something that offends someone else, or you don't like what they did, you don't agree with them, how are you going to work that out? And start making and putting some effort into that, because I'm telling you, this is a big issue. All these prepper groups, mags, and everything out there, I could see many of them absolutely falling apart because the stress levels are going to be so high and people just don't know how to get along. This is a major thing that everyone needs to be focused and working on, along with all of the other stuff. Because it's time to get our houses in order, folks. It's time for us to get ourselves prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.